Jack was tired. He had spent the whole day exploring the alien city of Varel Prime. The buildings were tall, glowing with strange lights. Creatures of every shape and size walked the streets. This was not Earth. This was a place where humans were rare, and curiosity was dangerous. He checked his translator chip and looked at a glowing sign ahead. It said, "House of Delicacies, only for the bold." Jack smiled. "That sounds fun," he muttered, and walked inside. The restaurant was dark but clean. The air smelled of spice and smoke. A tall alien with forearms and skin like silver greeted him. "Welcome, human. First time here?" The alien asked politely. "Yes. I want something new. Something rare," Jack said, relaxing into the seat. The alien smiled in a way that didn't feel quite right. "Very well. You will be served our rarest dish." Jack laughed. "As long as it's cooked?" The alien didn't laugh back. Minutes passed. A glass of blue wine was placed before Jack. He sipped it. It was sweet but made his tongue tingle. Soft music played in the background. Other guests, alien nobles in robes and armor, sat at private tables whispering, glancing at him. Then the lights dimmed. Two large alien servers entered the room, pushing a smooth silver cart with a long pod on top. The pod looked like a cryo chamber, like something from a medical ship. Jack frowned. "Is that the food?" The silver-skinned host walked beside the pod. "Indeed. Your order, the rarest steak. Fresh, never frozen." Jack stood up slightly. "Wait, is that a living creature?" The host pressed a button. A hiss of steam escaped. The pod slowly opened. Inside was a girl. She looked alien, but human-like. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly. Her long white hair was damp. She wore thin robes and was bound gently at her wrists and ankles. Her eyes were closed, lips slightly parted. Jack stared in shock. The host gestured proudly. "Young, tender. Never tasted fear until now, perfect flavor." "What the hell?" Jack gasped. "She's alive. She is yours," the host said calmly. "You ordered rare." The girl's eyes opened. She blinked, confused, and then locked eyes with Jack. Please," she whispered weakly. "Don't let them eat me." Jack took a step back. "This is insane. I didn't ask for this." The host tilted his head. "You ordered the rarest. This is legal on Varel Prime. All meat served fresh. If not desired, we will recycle her." "Recycle?" Jack asked, horrified. The girl started to shake. Tears rolled down her glowing cheeks. "Please, I've never even seen the sky." Jack looked around. No one else seemed shocked. Other guests were smiling, nodding, enjoying their own strange dishes. He leaned closer to the host. "She's sentient. A person. You can't just serve her." The host raised a brow. "She is grown for food, like your earth cattle." "She's not a cow," Jack snapped. "She talks. Some prefer that," the host replied with a small smile. Jack felt sick. He looked at the girl again. Her eyes were full of fear, but also hope. He turned back to the host. "What if I don't want her as food?" "You can keep her. We allow takeouts," the host said casually. "But no refund." Jack stared at the pod. The girl looked about 20 in human years. Her body was shaking, her breathing fast. She was terrified but still alive. He swallowed hard. This was supposed to be a meal, not a life or death decision. The host leaned forward. "Make your choice, human. You are holding up the line." Jack clenched his fists. Everyone was watching now. Some laughed, others whispered, some even placed bets. "Fine," Jack said. He stepped toward the pod. The girl looked up, afraid he would accept her as food. But then Jack reached inside, placed his hand on her shoulder, and looked back at the host. "I'm taking her with me." Gasps filled the room. "You break tradition," the host said, voice colder now. "You defy our customs." "I don't care," Jack said. "No one eats people in front of me." The host raised his hand. Lights turned red. Guards at the door stepped forward. A voice rang out. Unauthorized takeout. Prepare for capture. The girl's eyes widened. You don't know what you've started. Jack pulled her gently from the pod. Her body was weak, but she wrapped her arms around his neck. As the guards moved in, Jack grabbed a knife from the table. Try me, he growled. Jack didn't know how he got out alive. He had grabbed the alien girl and rushed through the emergency exit while alarms blared and red lights flashed behind him. Blades of light cut through the walls as guards chased them. He ducked low, the girl clinging to him, her breath cold on his neck. Down narrow tunnels, past steaming pipes, he finally found a broken door. Inside was an old storage room full of dusty bottles and broken kitchen bots. He sealed the door shut with a steel rod. Silence. Heavy, tense silence. The girl was still in his arms. She shivered, weak and half-conscious. Jack gently laid her on the floor and looked into her glowing eyes. You okay? He whispered. She blinked. You saved me. He nodded. Yeah, well, I didn't come to eat a live person today. She gave a weak smile. No one ever saves us. Not even humans. Jack frowned. What do you mean, us? Before she could answer, a whisper came from behind a shelf. You shouldn't have taken her, human. Jack jumped to his feet. A figure stepped out of the shadows. It was the waiter from before, only now he wasn't smiling. You think you're a hero? You just stole a royal-blooded prototype, the waiter said coldly. Prototype? Jack asked. The waiter ignored him. You don't understand the value of what you've taken. She's not just food, she's forbidden. The girl groaned. Don't tell him. But Jack turned to her. What are you? Who are you? She sat up weakly. My name is Alira. I was born in a lab, engineered for pleasure, for flavor, for control. Jack's eyes widened. You're grown? She nodded. But I'm not fake. I feel. I dream. I wanted to see the stars just once, the waiter snarled. Too bad, you'll never see anything again. He pulled a knife, but Jack moved faster. A quick swing, and the waiter fell back, unconscious. Jack turned to Alira. We need to get out of this city. Now. She shook her head. They'll track me. I have a crystal inside me. They use it to monitor everything. Jack stared at her. Then we remove it. Alira looked down. If you remove it wrong, I die. Jack groaned. Of course you do. They left the storage room through a back tunnel. Jack carried her again. She was light, almost weightless, as if her bones were hollow. They reached the slums of the city. Neon signs flickered above rusty buildings. Jack knocked on a metal door. A tiny slot opened and two glowing eyes peered out. Jack, a voice said, I thought you left this planet. I need your help, Crush, Jack said. Medical, kit, and a clean ship. Krosh, a retired alien smuggler, opened the door. Inside was a mess of stolen tech and black market parts. Krosh spotted Alira and hissed, You brought one of them here? Are you insane? She's not food, Jack said firmly. She's death, Krosh spat. Anyone touches a crystal blood and lives? Never seen it happen. I don't care, I'm getting her off this planet. Krosh looked between Jack and Alira, then sighed. Fine. But if she explodes, I'm not cleaning it up. They set her on a metal table. Krosh pulled out a scanner and waved it over her chest. There, he pointed. Crystal's near the heart. You try to remove it. Heartbeat stops. Jack turned to Alira. There has to be another way. She looked at him calmly. You could leave me. You still can. Jack shook his head. Not happening. Krosh muttered. Stupid human instincts. Jack got an idea. What if we disable the tracker without removing the crystal? Krosh scratched his chin. A power pulse could fry the signal. Risky, though. Could burn her from inside. Alira closed her eyes. Do it, Jack hesitated. Are you sure? She opened her eyes and gave a small nod. I'd rather burn than go back to being a meal. Krosh placed a strange-looking device on her chest. Hold her down. This is going to hurt. Jack gripped her hands tightly. The device whined, then buzzed. Elira screamed, her whole body arched in pain. Lights in the room flickered. Jack held her tight. Then silence. Smoke rose from the device. The light in her chest dimmed. Krosh checked his scanner. Signal's dead. She's free. Jack sighed with relief. Elira slowly sat up, her body shaking. Thank you. She whispered. Jack helped her up. You're safe now. Elira looked up at him with new eyes. You don't know what you've started, human. Jack frowned. You keep saying that. What do you mean? She stepped toward the window, looking at the alien sky. I'm not just a lab creation, I'm the last heir to the throne of the Eliari. My kind didn't just die. They were eaten. I was meant to be the final course. Jack's eyes widened. Hook. Ending. And now that I've escaped, Elira said, her voice colder, stronger, they will come for you. The sky over Varel Prime turned red. In the center of the city, a giant hologram appeared, Elira's face glowing above the towers. A robotic voice echoed through the streets. Royal Flesh Specimen Number 9 has escaped. A Level 7 hunt has been declared. Reward, 10,000 star credits dead or alive. Warning, human accomplice involved. Jack stood in Krosh's dark hangar staring at the image. Great, he muttered. We just became the galaxy's most wanted. Krosh hissed, pacing behind him. You broke every interspecies law. You don't understand what she is. That girl isn't just a dish, she's a symbol, a forbidden weapon. Jack looked at Elira. She was sitting on a crate, holding a cloth around her shoulders. Her skin still glowed faintly, but her eyes were sharper now. She didn't look like a victim anymore. I'm not a weapon, she said calmly, but I could be. Jack raised an eyebrow. You mean you've got powers? She nodded. My body was engineered not just for taste, but for control. I was meant to be served to leaders, who would then be changed by my presence. Addicted. Controlled, Krosh groaned. Great. Not just royal meat, but mind-altering royal meat. Jack narrowed his eyes. So, what now? Elira stood up slowly. Now I either die running, or take back what was stolen from my people. Jack crossed his arms. You're talking about war. Elira stepped closer to him. I'm talking about justice. Before Jack could respond, the hangar lights flickered. Krosh spun toward the door. Too late. They've found us. Suddenly the wall exploded inward. A large creature stepped through the smoke, part machine, part beast. Its metal claws clicked as it scanned the room. Specimen detected, it growled. Engaging harvest protocol. Jack cursed under his breath. Elira, get behind me. But she didn't move. Instead, her eyes glowed brighter, and the air around her shimmered. The creature lunged but froze mid-leap. Jack blinked. The monster was hanging in the air like a broken puppet. Elira whispered something in a strange tongue. The machine beast groaned, then shattered into metal dust. Silence. Jack looked at her in shock. You killed that thing without touching it. Elira's voice was soft but firm. They made me strong so I could control others, but they forgot. Strength can rebel. Krosh shook his head. You just fried a government enforcer. That'll bring the real hunters now. Elira turned to Jack. We need to leave the city. Where to? Jack asked. There's a temple hidden in the Red Dunes, Elira said. It's where the last of my kind fell. But I remember the path. If I can reach the core chamber, I can awaken what sleeps there. What sleeps there? Jack asked slowly. Elira didn't answer. Krosh threw Jack a data chip. Coordinates to the dunes, and a fast desert skimmer out back. It's not much, but it flies. Jack nodded and helped Elira into the skimmer. The engine roared to life and they blasted into the night. The desert spread before them, red sand, sharp rocks, and strange glowing plants. The wind howled like a warning. For hours they drove, until jagged cliffs rose in the distance. Then Alira spoke softly, almost in a trance. "This place. My ancestors screamed here." Jack stopped the skimmer. A ruined stone gate stood ahead, half buried in sand. Symbols glowed faintly on the surface, ancient writing. Alira stepped down. Her bare feet touched the sand and the gate began to hum. With a loud crack it opened. Inside, stairs led down into the dark. Jack hesitated. "Are you sure about this?" Alira looked back at him. "No, but I'm tired of running." They entered the chamber. The walls were covered in carvings of her people flying, building, falling, burning. At the center stood a large crystal throne. Alira walked to it. As she touched it, a soft voice filled the room. Bloodline confirmed. Queen caste reactivated. Energy pulsed through the walls. Alira turned, her eyes glowing bright red. Then she collapsed. Jack rushed to her. "Alira!" She opened her eyes slowly, voice shaking. "I saw everything. They didn't just eat us, they used us, our power, our songs, our minds." Jack held her hand. "We'll stop them." She looked at him with pain. "And something else. You broke every rule to save me. Now I break every rule not to protect you." Suddenly the ground shook. A deep voice echoed from above. "Found you." Jack looked up. A shadow blocked the entrance. It wasn't a machine, it was a royal eater. A towering alien general with fangs, horns, and glowing armor. "I knew the last queen would return here," he growled. "But I didn't expect her to bring a pet." Jack stood, pulling out his blaster. "I'm not her pet," the alien laughed. "You're a snack who got brave." Hook ending, the alien general raised a burning blade. "Let's see how brave you are, when I carve your meat slowly." The burning blade hummed in the alien general's hand. Its edges crackled with dark energy, casting orange shadows across the ancient temple. Jack stood in front of Alira, blaster raised, heart pounding. The alien general stepped forward. His armor was made of bone and metal. Dozens of glowing marks pulsed on his chest, each one a symbol of a royal he had eaten. "I consumed her mother," the alien said with a sneer. "She begged before the end." Jack's hand trembled. Behind him, Alira slowly pushed herself up from the floor. Her voice came low, cold. "That blade," she said. "It belonged to my father." The general grinned. "He didn't scream like the others. He died proud. You won't be so lucky." Jack fired first, 3 quick plasma blasts to the chest. The general barely flinched. In one leap, the creature closed the gap between them and slammed Jack into the stone wall. The impact shook the entire chamber. Jack fell hard, coughing blood. The general raised his blade high over Jack's head. But then, the temple responded, a hum deep in the ground. The stone under Alira's feet glowed, and the carvings on the walls lit up as if waking from a long sleep. The general turned. "No, not here. Not now." Alira's eyes flared bright red, her hair floating like it was underwater. "You hunted us like animals," she said. "But we were gods once." She raised her hand and the throne behind her shattered into light. A storm of ancient energy flowed into her body. She screamed, not in fear but in fury. The alien general charged. But the air around Alira bent and cracked, like space itself was breaking. She lifted her hand, and the general's body froze mid-swing. His blade shook in the air, then turned to ash. "You fed on us for centuries," she whispered. "Now you feel what we felt." The general's body bent backward unnaturally, his armor cracking, bones snapping, his eyes rolled back. Then he exploded into dust. Silence. Jack groaned from the floor. "Remind me not to get on your bad side." Alira turned to him, her power dimming slightly. She knelt beside him. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," Jack said with a bloody smile. "Just A few cracked ribs. Alira placed her glowing hand on his chest. Warmth spread through his body. The pain faded. He looked up at her, amazed. You can heal now, too? I'm remembering things, she said softly. Things my kind buried. We weren't just food. We were rulers, poets, warriors. She helped him stand. Together, they looked around the temple, alive now, breathing with ancient light. But why did they hunt your people? Jack asked. Alira's face darkened. Because we carried something they feared. The voice. The voice, he echoed. She nodded. A song, passed down from queen to queen. It wasn't just music, it shaped reality. It could bend minds, calm storms, destroy empires. Jack whistled. No wonder they wanted you on a plate. She touched the crystal in her chest. They silenced us by turning us into food. But the voice still sleeps in my blood. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. So, what now? She looked up toward the cracked ceiling. Starlight streamed through. We go to the cradle, she said. The what? A lost station above the moons. That's where the last true choir sang before the purge. If I reach it, I can awaken the full power of my lineage. Jack sighed. So back into danger, huh? Alira smiled faintly. You're free to walk away. He smirked. Yeah. No. I already committed the crime of not eating you. Might as well go all in. Suddenly an alarm rang in the distance. Mechanical and angry, Krosh's voice buzzed through Jack's wrist comm. Bad news. They've put a planetary lockdown. No ships leave Varel Prime. Every port's under watch. You two are trapped. Jack looked at Alira. Well, we've broken laws, killed a warlord, fried a death beast. What's one more crime? She tilted her head. What are you thinking? Jack grinned. Let's steal a ship. Alira blinked. You're insane. Only on Thursdays, Jack said. Which is today, apparently. Hook ending. As they stepped out of the glowing temple, a squad of elite hunters landed in the desert outside. Led by another figure Jack recognized. From the holograms, the Collector. A being who didn't eat the royal flesh. He collected them. Alive. And he had come for Alira. The red desert wind howled. Jack and Alira stepped out of the ancient temple, only to stop cold. A sleek black starship hovered above the dunes. Its engines didn't roar. They whispered, like a predator stalking prey. Around it, 5 armored hunters in mirror-like suits formed a circle. Each held high-tech weapons pointed right at them, and standing in the center was the Collector. He didn't wear armor. He didn't carry weapons. He wore a long white coat, and his eyes were covered by a glowing mask that showed a permanent, polite smile. Human, he said in a calm voice. You've caused quite a mess. Jack raised his blaster. Yeah, and I'm just getting started. The Collector didn't flinch. You're brave, but foolish. He looked at Alira. And you, my dear. You were supposed to be in my vault by now, cryo-sealed, cataloged, displayed. Alira's eyes narrowed. I'm not an object. You're a legacy, he replied. Your kind was erased not for power, but for envy. No species could match you, so they ate you. But I don't destroy beauty. I preserve it. Jack stepped in front of her. By freezing it in a glass box, the Collector tilted his head. Better that than letting her fall into chaos. Her awakening could destabilize the balance of power across 10 star systems. Good, Jack snapped. Maybe they need shaking up. The Collector sighed. Then you leave me no choice. He raised a finger. His hunters stepped forward. But, Alira whispered, Wait. Jack looked back at her. What? Her voice was soft. They've disabled teleport and gravity fields. That means the sand serpent can move again. Jack's eyes widened. The what? A deep rumble shook the ground. The hunters paused. The Collector turned slowly. The sand behind him rose like a wave. Something enormous burst from beneath the dunes, a creature with rows of glowing eyes and jaws wide enough to swallow a building. Its body shimmered like liquid crystal and sand fused together. The sand serpent had awoken. "Run!" Alira shouted. But Jack ran toward it. He fired 3 plasma shots at a nearby cliff. The rock cracked, and the serpent turned, diving into the squad of hunters like a living missile. Explosions echoed. One hunter vanished into its mouth. The collector didn't panic. Instead, he activated a beacon on his wrist. A bubble of energy surrounded him, protecting him from the chaos. Jack grabbed Alira's hand and pulled her toward a ridge. Now or never. They ran. Plasma bolts flew past their heads. The serpent roared behind them, smashing the ground with its tail. They reached a ridge where Krosh's old desert skimmer was still hidden beneath a tarp. Jack ripped it open, jumped in, and started the engine. Alira dove in beside him. "Hang on!" The skimmer shot forward just as the sand serpent reared up and collapsed the ground behind them. As they sped away, Alira looked back. The collector stood untouched in the center of the wreckage. The serpent had vanished into the dunes again. The collector slowly lowered his hand and turned to face them. Even from far away, his glowing smile mask was visible. "He let us go," Jack muttered. Alira nodded. "Because he wants to follow. He's a collector. He doesn't chase prey. He tracks it." They rode in silence, the desert fading behind them. Soon, the glowing towers of the spaceport came into view. Alira frowned. "It's crawling with guards. They'll scan us the moment we step near a ship." Jack grinned. "Then we don't step, we crash." He pulled out a small black cube. "Stolen override chip. Got it from Krosh months ago. Hijack any auto ship in seconds." Alira smiled. "You're more than just lucky, aren't you?" "I'm a professional rule breaker," Jack replied. "And this time, the rule I'm breaking is gravity." They slipped into a hangar through a sewage chute, barely avoiding detection. Jack hacked into the launch control system. A small diplomatic cruiser sat in Dock 7, unguarded, shiny, fast, perfect. They boarded it. Jack initiated launch sequence. Lights blinked, engines powered up, but before they could lift off, an alarm screamed. Unregistered passengers detected. Lockdown engaged. Jack cursed. "They've blocked manual override." Alira stepped forward. Her hand glowed. She touched the ship's console, and the lights turned blue. "Ship obeys royal blood," said an ancient voice from the speakers. Jack blinked. "You can talk to starships now?" Alira smiled. "Apparently." The cruiser rose into the sky as alarms wailed. Gunships tried to intercept, but the diplomatic ship ignored them, flying through blockades like they weren't even there. Within minutes, they broke through the atmosphere. Stars filled the sky. Jack leaned back in his seat, exhausted. Alira looked out the window, her expression serious. "We're not safe yet. Where to next?" Jack asked. She whispered, "The cradle, where the voice was last heard. If I reach it, I might be able to sing again." Hook ending. But in deep space, the collector stood in his private ship, watching their path through a star map. He turned to a row of glowing jars, each containing the preserved heart of a royal bloodline, and he whispered, "The last voice shall belong to me." The stars outside the ship blinked like warnings. Jack leaned over the console, staring at the map. The ship they had stolen was fast, but not invisible. Behind them, 3 red markers moved across the star chart, closing in. "The collector's ships are faster than I thought," Jack muttered. Alira stood silently beside him. Her glow was fading. She looked pale, tired. "The closer we get to the cradle," she said, "the heavier the pull becomes." "What kind of pull?" "My blood remembers this place," she replied. "But something else remembers me, something dark." Jack tapped the console. "We're almost at the border. Once we cross into cradle space, they can't legally follow. It's sacred territory." Alira shook her head. The collector doesn't follow laws. He collects what no one else dares to touch. Suddenly, alarms blared. Incoming transmission. A voice filled the cabin, calm, smooth, inhumanly patient. This is the collector. Surrender the girl and I promise the human will live. Refuse and I'll take you both. Broken. Jack smirked. No mute button? Alira stepped forward. Answer it. Jack hit the comms. What do you want, Bone Mask? The collector's voice was cold. The last bloodline, the final voice. The original choir was silenced, but you, Alira, are the last chord. I will preserve you in silence, Jack growled. She's not your trophy. The collector replied. She was never yours to keep. The transmission ended. Outside the ship, space rippled. 3 dark vessels appeared, sharp, silent, like knives cutting through starlight. Alira gripped the railing. He's already inside our minds. I can feel him crawling. Jack loaded his pulse rifle. Then we blow him out the airlock. Suddenly, crash. The ship jolted violently. The collector's main vessel had fired a tractor beam. They were being pulled backward. Losing control, Jack shouted. Alira closed her eyes. The glow around her body flared again, brighter than before. Symbols appeared on her skin. Ancient royal glyphs. The ship's voice echoed again. Royal. Flood override. Activating cradle protocol. Suddenly the stars ahead shifted. A massive construct appeared in the distance. A hidden station shaped like a ring of crystal and metal, orbiting a dead moon. Alira gasped. The cradle? Jack shouted. If we reach it, can you stop this guy? She didn't answer. Alira, her eyes were closed, her body floating inches off the floor. The ship accelerated on its own. The collector's beam pulled harder but then stopped. His ships began to shake. Inside his command deck, the collector staggered as lights flickered. She's awakening. Too early. Alira opened her eyes. They were now glowing completely white. I remember the song now, she said. Jack looked worried. What song? She held out her hand and from her mouth came a hum. Not words, not a language. A tone so deep and pure that the walls of the ship vibrated. The space between their cruiser and the collector's ships ripped open. A burst of sound. Energy threw the enemy vessels off course, Jack shouted in awe. Did you just weaponize music? Alira's voice came calm. This is the voice. It was never for war. But my people were pushed into silence, so now the voice will scream. Jack pointed. We're reaching the cradle. The moment they passed into the sacred zone, the enemy ship stopped. They hovered at the edge. The collector's voice returned, distant but sharp. I cannot enter, but she will not survive what lies inside. None ever do. The signal ended. The ship landed on a glowing platform inside the cradle. Silence fell. Alira stepped outside first. Jack followed, gun ready. If he's not coming in, who do we worry about now? Alira turned slowly. My ancestors. The chamber around them lit up. Floating lights blinked awake. A holographic choir appeared, ghostly figures of her kind standing in rows. They all stared at her. Then one stepped forward. A woman with similar glowing eyes and the same white hair. She spoke softly. Child of broken song, you dare return to the place of judgment? Alira bowed her head. I come not to rule, but to remember. Jack stepped forward. She's the last one left. If you want your legacy to mean anything, help her. The choir turned to him. A human? The lead spirit whispered. Of all the allies, why him? Alira looked at Jack. Because he did what no one else did. He heard my voice and didn't try to silence it. The chamber rumbled, the spirits sang. A soft hum turned into a wave of sound, lifting Alira off the floor again. Light wrapped around her, then burned into her chest. She screamed. Jack reached out. Alira! But she was glowing too brightly to touch. Hook ending, and then the glow vanished. Alira dropped to the floor, and when she stood, her voice was not hers anymore. It was thousands of voices, and they said together, "The song is reborn. The collector has no idea what is coming." Silence fell over the cradle. Not empty silence, sacred silence. Alira stood at the center of the chamber. But she was not just Alira anymore, she was many. Thousands of royal voices whispered through her mind, each one a memory, a cry, a song, left unsung for generations. Their grief was her strength. Their power was now hers. Jack stared at her, breath caught in his throat. Her body still looked like the same girl he had pulled from that cursed restaurant pod, but her eyes held the weight of a galaxy. "You okay?" he asked softly. She turned to him slowly. When she spoke, her voice echoed like a chorus. "I am the last note in a silenced song. I am the voice. Awakened." Jack lowered his blaster. "You're scaring me just a little." She smiled gently. "Good. That means you're still human." Suddenly, the chamber's lights flickered. A beam of red light struck through the center floor. The collector's image appeared, projected from outside the cradle. "You may have awakened your dead voices," he said, "but they are just ghosts. I have fleets, worlds, armies." Alira stepped forward. Her voice remained calm. "And yet, you still fear me." The collector's mask flickered. "You have one chance. Surrender. Let your legacy survive in glass." Jack snorted. "Do you ever shut up?" But Alira raised her hand, and the projection shattered like glass. "No more running," she said. "No more hiding. It's time to be heard." She closed her eyes and sang. Not a song made of words, but of feeling. The walls of the cradle responded. Energy poured out into space. Across the stars, ancient Elyari temples buried in forgotten moons blinked awake. Hidden ships powered by sound alone stirred from silence. And something else happened. On the collector's command ship, alarms exploded. "Sir, unknown energy signatures, hundreds of them." The collector stepped back. From behind the cradle, the sky shimmered. A fleet appeared, not made of metal, but of sound and crystal, shaped by the last song of the Elyari. Alira opened her eyes, glowing, like stars. "I remembered who I am," she said. "Now it's your turn to remember what you destroyed." The ships formed around the cradle like guardians. Jack stood beside her. "I've never followed a queen before." Alira smiled. "You didn't follow me, Jack. You heard me. That's what made you different." He looked into her eyes. "So, what now?" She looked at the stars. "Now, I return to my people. I rebuild what was broken. And you can go home." Jack frowned. "You're kicking me out of the royal palace already?" She chuckled softly. "I'm saying you're free. You don't owe me anything." Jack looked away for a moment, then back at her. "Maybe I don't owe you, but I want to stay. You said you were the last note in a silenced song. Maybe I want to help write the next one." Alira stepped close. Their hands touched. Her glow dimmed just a little, enough to let him in. "Then be my voice, Jack," she said. "When I can't speak, you speak for me. When I'm too loud, remind me to be soft." He nodded. "Deal." Suddenly, a flash lit the sky. The collector's fleet turned. He was leaving, running. The collector's voice echoed one last time across space. "You may have won this day, child, but songs fade, and silence always returns." Alira stared at his ship as it disappeared into hyperspace. "No," she whispered. "Not this time. This song will echo forever." Later, across the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Planets, where Elyari were once hunted, began to hear voices in their dreams. Not haunting ones, but warm, powerful, ancient songs. Children with strange glowing eyes were born, and in every spaceport, people whispered tales of a girl once served as food, who became a queen, and beside her, a human with nothing but a stolen ship, a broken gun, and a heart that refused to look away. Final scene. In a peaceful Elyari garden above the cradle, Jack sits on a bench. Alira stands nearby, speaking to a group of young Eliari children. She laughs. Iola, sound is music. Jack watches her. He whispers to himself, smiling. I came for a steak and stayed for a queen.